So Tony Ferguson has been officially removed from the UFC roster. Um, I don't think it was uh, willingly done from Tony's perspective. I think it was forced upon Tony to kind of leave the UFC. It's not really a retirement. It's more so that the UFC is not letting Tony fight again under their promotion. I can't blame them. Tony has been losing fights for a while now. He's old. He's only got power good enough for like past the first minute of a fight. He's slow. He's old. Things like that, you know. Also, he's old. So, you know, the UFC has finally had enough, and they have cut him. They've cut him. So after that, or I think almost immediately after that, uh, word has gotten out that Tony Ferguson is signed with a whole new fighting corporation or MMA corporation, cage fighting corporation, by the name of the GFL. The GFL has been making waves around Twitter and other social media platforms, most notably because of the way that they're signing fighters is like a draft. They're calling it the GFL draft. They're drafting fighters. One of the fighters they've recently signed or drafted is a well-known fighter and kind of well-known because of some like TikTok edits that have been made of him. But he's been fighting since a long time ago. Sage Northcutt, wicked ass, cool ass name, cool looking dude too, and he fights really well. Fought in the UFC, made some waves, left the UFC. I don't know why. I think it was like a money dispute, but left the UFC, fought in another fighting organization, and then got seriously injured in that fighting organization, which made him have to step away for a number of years before returning. But he's being signed to the GFL, same organization that has, like I said, recently signed Tony Ferguson and also signed Dylan Dennis. So a couple jokes are like circling around about the GFL just signing anybody, you know, especially with this, kind of, for lack of a better term, funky way of signing people, the GFL draft. But yeah, it's interesting stuff, and it's a new kind of chapter for Tony. I think no matter where Tony Ferguson goes, he's still gonna fight like shit. That being said, I have a lot of respect for Tony. I'm not like, this is not me trying to attack Tony Ferguson. I'm a fan of Tony Ferguson. He's done a lot of things, a lot of amazing things in the UFC, and he's a bona fide UFC legend because of all that he's done and the way he fights, the amount of entertaining fights he's put on, the influence he's had, especially as an interim champion at 1.2. He's always been he has been a great fighter. He's been a great fighter and a UFC legend. I've got respect for him. A lot of fighters and fans do. I just think it's time for him to move on, and it's really sad that he hasn't, and he's going further into this, dark hole, that may, kind of shorten his lifespan even more so. Because, like I said, he's fighting the GFL now. So there's now some talk about the GFL possibly putting together a fight between Dylan Dennis and Tony Ferguson. And again, while I'm really sad for Tony in terms of like his life choices and not choosing to retire and going on to fight further as an old man that can't really keep up with younger fighters. Can't really even keep up with older fighters too. He's just really old, and his power is gone. All of his imperative physical abilities when it comes to MMA and fighting have gone. Maybe there's a few left, but that's not enough to get wins together or do something significant in the fight game again. The dude lost to Michael Chiesa. Michael fucking Chiesa, and look, Michael Chiesa is a fighter, and I got respect for anybody that makes the walk to the octagon, but again, Michael Chiesa ain't that fucking good, and he made Michael Chiesa look like a like a top guy at his weight class. So yeah, it's a sad point in life for Tony. Maybe not for him because, like I said, he's so hungry to fight again. He must feel a high from being re-signed to another organization and being able to fight some more. I'm sure the fans will follow him to the GFL. I'm sure the GFL fights that include or involve Tony Ferguson are going to get a lot of views, especially if he's going to fight Dylan Dennis. And a fight between Tony and Dylan Dennis, like I said, even though I'm sad about Tony still choosing to fight, it's still a good fight. It's a fight I'd watch. I'd watch Tony Ferguson fight Dylan Dennis. Tony's going to lose. I think Dylan could even choose to strike with Tony and find success. I think Dylan's just got to watch out for how the fight starts. Because, like I said, Tony Ferguson has enough power for like a couple minutes into the fight. Then he's going to wane. So all Dylan has to do is watch out for the first 2 minutes. And watch out for the hands and the punches of Tony. You always got to watch out for the grappling because no matter how old a fucking dude is, the grappling still sticks with him. Like if you go to your local BJJ, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu place, I'm sure there's a couple old guys with like purple belts and blue belts that are kicking people's asses. So the Jiu-Jitsu and the grappling is probably still ingrained in Tony. It's just the striking that's just gone to shit. And the grappling is not tight. It's just there. Like, if you're not careful enough, you could walk your way into some sort of submission. But, if you're a good grappler and you're attentive, then you can still whip Tony on the ground as well. I'm just saying you can't, you can't totally lose focus with Tony on the ground. On the feet, you can, past the first 2 minutes. Then you can't because Tony's just standing there, after the first few minutes in a fight. So Dylan is obviously going to win. And again, given how strong Dylan's jiu-jitsu is, yeah, he's going to be able to whip Tony on the ground too. So Dylan would obviously win that. Even if they were to do like Sage Northcutt versus Tony, which wouldn't happen. But still, that would fucking go Sage Northcutt's way too. And Sage Northcutt has been out for, again, a really devastating injury for a while. So yeah, it's pointless to see Tony make this move. Because it's not going to do anything more for him. He's just going to go to a lesser-known organization and still lose. Because I think, even guys outside of the UFC, if they're young enough, are going to be able to whoop Tony. And it's just because of the age, man. It's just because of the age. Tony doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't have it anymore. And we'd all love to see it. It hurts me to say it because I'd like to see him have it again, but he doesn't have it anymore. And it's imperative that fighters realize that, because that's what goes on to get you killed, or goes on to get you to die a couple decades earlier, because you're taking all this excess damage and you're not throwing anything back, so you're just taking damage and you're re-signing fight after fight to take more and more damage. That's all it is. So it's just really sad to watch because I like Tony. Like I said, I respect what he's done. I honor his career. He had it. Oh yeah, and overall, we can all take a moment to also just acknowledge what he's done in the UFC, because he's again been cut from the UFC. So now is the time to acknowledge and appreciate what Tony has done, and he's done a lot. And he almost had a fight with Khabib that a lot of people think would have gone his way. So Tony's done a lot in the UFC. And I think a lot of MMA fans will never forget him. And I hope so. And again, on top of everything, I hope Tony retires soon. He's making this move, and it's just not a smart one, in my opinion. And it's sad to see, and it's going to be sad to see him get his ass whooped by anybody that the GFL brings into the cage with him. So, yeah, hurtful watch. Don't really like the move. I would still watch a fight between him and Dylan Dennis just for fucks and shits and gigs. But that's about it. Overall, you let me know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you all in the next.